you don't get a job or anything, something happened with you and your girlfriend, anything can happen to you, you take it out on the family.
No, I don't.
You do. You shut us out.
I shut the world out.
Okay, but that's not good.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We're talking to you guys about Love and Marriage DC. Yes, we're breaking down the latest episode, episode 2, and we're going to get deep and we're going to begin to break down part of the components of that episode. There was Little Jamie and Big Jamie having their argument. As you just saw, there was also the Gutter Baby incident with the ladies. Joy also had her own share of frustrations that she felt about towards the ladies as well. There was a few things that were going on. Not too many, but enough that we can actually begin to break down this episode and hopefully get some deeper thoughts to come from it. Listen, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like it, you share, you subscribe, you click on that bell button for notification of the what up lows. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. Listen, we're not going to take too long. Let me even put my bucket hat on as well, guys. You know what I mean? There we go. Listen, we ain't going to take too long tonight. We're going to be on here for about at least half an hour, 45 minutes. But get ready to break it down. I'm joined by Jay as well. Jay, how you doing?
I'm good, love. I see you made it out that sweater tonight, huh?
Baby, the stories to tell.
I know they gonna crucify you if you don't get up out of it. Shoot, okay.
Listen.
Hey, everybody.
It was Gucci, baby. It was Gucci.
Yeah.
Listen, let's talk about it. Let's not waste time. Let's get straight into the conversation. We're gonna start off with obviously Little Jamie, and their fight that they had outside, and actually even the conversations they had later on as well, because Jamie had some conversations with Arena, and I'll play some clips a little bit as well, because I felt like there's something that Jamie still hasn't learned from last season, I believe, right? In terms of taking accountability. And he started showing a little bit of that again in this episode, where he began deflecting towards Arena. And I was like, no, sir, you can take some accountability. But we're going to discuss first and foremost, we're going to deal with his situation with his son. So Little Jamie and Big Jamie. Let's play a little clip once more again of the situation they had as well.
We're your family. We love you. We support you.
He deserves a chance to at least say, this is how I feel.
I heard what he said.
Deeper than that.
Slim, you're not progressing in life. You're not doing nothing in life.
Ooh. Daddy said you ain't doing nothing in life. You ain't That's basically what he's saying. Jay, what was your thoughts around this particular argument they had? It was a continuation from last week. But obviously they had their argument again in the corridor. What's your thoughts of this?
First of all, I apologize if my sound goes out because I have dead spots, but I'm on both sides of this. Okay, so of course I was a kid to a parent that I felt was tough on me at the time, and of course I have a child, so I get both sides, and it's a very difficult place to be in on this side, actually looking at somebody else's parents, because I don't like to tell people how to parent. We all have our own styles. But I will suggest, a lot of times what we don't realize is, as a parent, our children have learning styles, and some of them they respond to negative and others respond to positives. And so like you're yelling at, well, you're not doing anything, you're not doing that. And what I've come to kind of look at is when Little Jamie says, you tell me all these good things, and then the next thing you slap me down. So his learning style is more on the positive end. That's what I'm gathering. The more the praises, the more you tell me I'm doing good, then I pick up on it. And sometimes as a parent, we just have to step back a little bit and just think of how my child picks up on cues. I had to do it myself to even figure out which school I should put my daughter in. It was going through struggle of you're not getting the bookwork till it really dawned on me, you are a crafts type person, you're an artsy type person, so I need to put you in an art school. I don't need to keep fighting with you with the scholar and all the intellectual stuff as far as book knowledge goes. I need to put it in a place where you learn how you learn, which is demonstrations, demos, and hands-on. So That's what I end up having to do with my daughter to try to figure it out. We done went through all the styles of trying to figure out which one is her learning behavior. Do she respond to positives? Do she respond to negatives? Do she respond to no response? You know, it's for you. A bit late. He's 26 in the game, but he still has a pattern that I think if Jamie steps back, Jamie already knows. And he would realize that, okay, sometimes when I talk to you this way, you're shut down. So maybe if I respond to you this way, it's a thing. And so even though we're seeing him saying these negative things, that might be his way that he learns. So I won't totally fault Jamie on saying you're not doing nothing, because sometimes the honest truth is a way that some of our children learn. Is like, okay, you know what? Let me just give you the hard cut truth. You need to do better. Now, I will also suggest, and we talk about how men tend to pick up on stuff. He needs to just suggest some more solutions in a different manner than I got a job for you. It's maybe at this point in his life, maybe we should say, okay, let's sit down and we'll go through the solutions together and let you come up with it as a man, figure out how you can move your life in the right direction. And I'm going to show you the support, and I'm going to be here to back you, you know. And they could have possibly done it off camera by now. I don't really know. But I still stand on my stance the last week of having this discussion at this time, at this party, was probably not the best thing. And as we can see moving forward, that it kind of shut down the whole party for everybody, even little Jason. And that was very unfair for him at the end. So it's like, you guys didn't just ruin your nights, you ruined little Jason's night as well. So I don't know, it's hard. And I've been that child too, where I kind of went through my rebellious stage. I even went as far as when it was time for college to come around, I left and they didn't hear from me for a whole year. So I kind of get where he did the stonewalling, and I'm going to do it on my own. Because sometimes it is, sometimes, and I don't know if this is a mentality he might have had, but mine was, I need to figure it out on my own, and I need to get off of you guys, because as long as I'm under you guys, I have to follow by your rules, and I don't want to do your rules. I need to do my own. So I have to stand on my own. That means if I have to jump out the nest myself, I'm gonna have to jump out the nest. And only to find out later on that actually hurt my parents. And so that's where the hurt that Arena is explaining right now. Like, I had an auntie that had to literally tell me, yeah, by you doing what you did, that hurt everybody though. So I had to come back to myself, and I had to own up that my half of it, even though I wasn't in a happy space, how I reacted to it actually impacted other people, and say my apologies to them. So if both men could sit there and say, and look at how they're impacting the other one, I think they can move forward in a more positive direction going forward. And I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you for that, Jay. Good breakdown as well. I think the reality of what I see with Big Jamie, Little Jamie is, Big Jamie trying to, and someone said in the chat, he's trying to do tough love. And the reality is, your children aren't born in the era you're born in, so tough love is looking very harsh and very controlling, rather than it coming across as love. Because, you know, obviously Little Jamie was born into luxury, so the tactics of trying an argument with your son, it don't really make sense to it don't really make sense where you decided to have the argument, right? I get it, you know, his son hasn't done anything for 26 something years. You're frustrated, you're annoyed, you're hurt, but it's just very similar to the conversation on the balcony, where it's like you're mentioning stuff that you don't need to mention. I took care of you for 30 years. Da, da, da. It's not needed, right? Like, you can see him feeling some type of way on the floor. This is not the time to now say, you know, try to start up aggressions with your son. I can go there if you need to go there. Do you know what I mean? Even if your son's going there, you don't need to go there. Don't let him see you pressed and sweating, because he's learning from you. But, you know, I get the fact that he's 26, he has to stand on his own 2 feet. But at the same time, I feel like Jamie's just way of doing things or it easily causes attrition. You know, his way of doing things easily causes attrition. Actually, it's funny enough because he did something similar to Arena as well later on. Like when they were talking, you know, rather than taking accountability for the part that he played in it, he just kept on going and then tried to make Arena feel bad about the points that she brought up. I was like, okay, wait, hold on, what's going on here? Then I realized, okay, no, you know, he likes to have things his own way, um, and that's how things set the way that he wants it set. But you can't control everything in his life, and that includes your kids. You know, so you know, little Jamie is learning, just not learning at the pace that you want, and not growing at the pace that you particularly want. But the reality is, he's growing. Do you know what I'm saying? He's maturing. He's developing. And so yeah, when I saw the fight between the two, I was like, Daddy, why you why you doing so much? You know what I mean? Tone it down a little bit. It's your son. You're not a randomer. Like, do you know what I mean? You got into his face, closed his personal space up, and then wanted to make it as if he was one being irate. My friend, you were already crossing boundaries when you entered into his personal space. Do you know what I mean? Especially when people are annoyed, it's not the time to start entering their personal space. But hey, what do I know? What's your thoughts, Jay?
I definitely agree there. It's funny that sometimes when you're a parent and you have a child and you're fighting for the best of them, you're fighting, and they're fighting. It feels like they're fighting against you. They might be fighting with you, but it feels like they're fighting against you, and your ego just jumps in so quickly because it's just like, dang it, I am the parent. Stop toe to toe with me, but if you want to take it to the green, we can. Like, what do you want to do? And it gets like that sometimes. This is just when the frustration is boiled over. I definitely agree, though, that you shouldn't want to keep challenging your kids. We know in the Bible, God tells us not to challenge our kids and push them in a way like this. And so sometimes we just have to swallow that pride and swallow our ego and just humble ourselves before our child. Like, you know what? I just really just want you to do what's right. You know, I'm fighting tooth and nail for you. I would do anything for you because you are my blood. I just need you to understand what you're doing is just not right. I don't know if you've seen the post though. I seen it today. I don't know what day Jamie actually posted, but it's from little Jamie. And it actually hit me. It hit home to me a lot because he was actually like giving thanks to his dad about the way he raised him and the tough love that he did show. So I appreciate it because it was showing the growth. It's not like you said at the rate that Jamie might want it to be, but the growth is definitely there. And it hit home for me because when I look back on my life, I had to thank my dad for one being there, you know, when he didn't have to, because we know a lot of people's parents don't have to, but they choose to. So I had to thank him for being there for me. And though at the time I didn't see the love the way I probably wanted to see it, it was there because what he was doing was preparing me for a lot of things to come in the world. And so I had to sit back and do the same thing where it's just like, you know, my dad's style of parenting might not be for everybody's child, but in the long haul, it turned out for the best because I have no regrets. I like what I am. Now, little Jamie did explain, like, yeah, I got into some trouble and it wasn't because I was a bad kid. And I think this was a lot directed to what Quick was saying. But he was also saying, like, I just ran with bad kids. I just wanted to be the cool kid. And so instead of being the cool kid that was smart in books and playing ball or doing some of the positive things, I decided to be with the cool kids that was running the streets or the kids I thought were cool. But if it wasn't for my dad, I would be far worse off. So like I said, I appreciate that growth. I respect it. I don't respect the fact that you still, you know, disrespected the people that you love, that love you and fighting for you, which is also including your mom, you know, because you're hurting her a lot when you stonewall like that. That hurts her to sit there and worry about you, especially in the climate that we're in right now. You know, with the police doing whatever for whatever reason, and people just being crazy out here right now in the world. So it's almost to the point we don't know who to trust. And the one thing, most hurtful thing a child can do to their parent is just go absent silence on them because we have no clue of what's happening. You know, we really don't know. And that's the most scariest thing, especially for a mother who really deep down loves her child like Arena loves hers. So I would just suggest little Jamie fix that part of him for sure, especially when it comes to his mom. I don't care if he don't communicate with anybody else, but keep in contact with her at the least. Let her know that you're doing okay at the least. You could be mad at your dad as much as you want. You could be mad at the world, as he puts it, but there's somebody in the world that is there for you, and that person that you should always be able to come to no matter what. And I think she always has that door open for him. No matter what is going on, you can come to me. So my only tidbit of advice to him, take it or leave it.
Cool. You're absolutely right, Jay. Let me play another clip for you guys a little bit later, but it's still the same thing.
Family when something don't go his way.
Well, I told him about that too.
I know, but
So I
but
had
that's
the
what started all
conversation.
this.
Yeah. So when I went out there, when he was telling me my dad don't like me,
And do you believe that?
no, Jamie loves his son dearly and would do anything for his son.
Okay. All right. So obviously, we get to see Arena and them talking. I wanted to play actually another clip. It wasn't the right clip I wanted to play. I wanted to play where, you know, he blames her for like being too soft on him a little bit. But you know, I said we saw Jamie kind of, you know, talking with Arena in that particular scene and kind of being a little bit deflective in terms of what he had contributed towards the situation. I don't know if I can get a clip right now. See if I can get one now.
Because I don't want anything to happen to him.
This is why you frustrate me, because I didn't do nothing to him to start none of this. The whole entire thing started when he left the house and stopped talking to us for over a week. We all had issues.
So yeah, so you know, it's interesting because you know we saw how you know we saw obviously how he spoke to Arena a little bit. There was actually another part of the scene where he actually says like, you know, you've been spoiling him, and says about Arena, and it feels like Arena's been backed into a corner, like, and that's one thing I've noticed about Arena. She'll get to talking and then she'll back down real quick. Like she'll start talking and he will interrupt her, or he will say it's not that case, and she'll fall in line as always. And that's not necessarily a bad thing per se for the right person. That's debatable whether it's here or not. But I do believe that obviously when it comes to Jamie, you know, I think he sees something in his son that maybe reminds him of him or reminds him of somebody he knew, and he just wants to eradicate that energy, eradicate that particular behavior in his son. But then obviously Reina is also a bridge gap to try and help the two mend their emotional ties as well. Doesn't seem to be going as well because he even shot her down in this particular scene as well. What's your thoughts, Jay? Because someone said, yeah, she's losing her voice, it seems.
Well, speak on the two-parent dynamic, because I kind of grew up with two, and it's girls in the house. Granted, my dad would treat us as still like we were boys, but sometimes I noticed the dynamic goes that the dads will seem to be the soft spot for the girls, and the mom will be the soft spot for the boys. And it's just hard because you're trying to keep hold of your child, but still be a parent to them, and not go against what the other parent is doing. But you're kind of put in the middle sometimes, just because you're being a little bit softer than the other parent would like, you know. And it goes, like I say, it goes both ways for the men with their daughters and the women with their sons. She's fighting not to lose her child completely. So her fight is more so is, I hear what your dad is saying, but hear me out. And it's more in a softer approach where Big Jamie is doing almost the same thing little Jamie ended up doing. I'll just shut you all the way out. I'll just cut you all the way off. That's not what she wants. That's not her end goal. I don't think, and to be honest, she knows that's not Big Jamie's end goal either. She knows exactly how much he loves his son and that he wants to keep communication with him. But it's a little bit of that stubbornness, a lot of that ego that keeps that divide, and she's just trying to be that soft landing spot in between both of these egos. As far as her losing her voice, I don't, as watching her even interact with the women, Irena is more low confrontational until backed into a wall. So if she doesn't have to really fight a battle, she's not going to do it. And I think like a lot of times we be in our relationships, we be with our man, and a lot of people will be looking at us like, why don't you speak up for yourself? Sometimes we've been fighting so many battles at the house, we don't want to do them all in front of everybody. Some of them, after a while, we just learn, you know what, I'm not going to fight you because I already know that you're just going to stand in this spot and you're not hearing me, you're not understanding me. So I'm not going to go back and forth with the argument, because that's what an argument is, two people not trying to hear the other person. When you're ready to actually hear me, we can talk about this. We can have a real conversation about this. But if you're just going to keep yelling your side to me, yeah, I'm going to shut down, because I'm just not going to go there, because you're not in the space to actually hear me and understand me. And that's kind of like what I get Raina to do, because I have seen her blow up and go off. We've seen it a few times, even when to the point where Jamie is holding her back, like, no, calm down. And she's like, no, I got to say what I got to say. But I think because he is a bigger presence in the relationship sometimes, and his stance is generally, I'm going to stand where I am, it does make that little fight look one-sided, and it does make it seem like she's backing down all the time. I think she just has a different approach to it, to more like, maybe we'll have this conversation again at a calmer space when you're actually ready to receive my message.
Absolute. I love the breakdown as well and commentary in that regard. I think also with someone like Irena, who is more peaceful and wanted to kind of keep the peace between people. You can see her being a mediator, almost wanting to be a mediator, but she's been almost pushed aside so that pushed aside so that Jamie can have his way. So as someone put in there, she can advocate for herself and her son a bit more. But the reality is that's her husband, and probably doesn't want to go against him, doesn't want to make him look silly. I get it. But I think in this situation, the way that he does talk to Irena will have to be checked one day, because you can only go so far with that nonsense where you change, you kind of like hit the nail on the head with a person, but you're not really tackling the actual issue. And also during that conversation, he actually begins to deflect of I put it in my notes of what he was saying. I felt like he was shifting his from actually accepting what was happening to him. Let's see. Did I write notes down? Oh, I guess I didn't write notes down. Trust me not to write notes down, guys. Okay, so but let me see if I can get a clip. I think I can probably get a clip of it actually saying that. So remind myself exactly what it was again. It was a conversation here.
My frustration. As far as little Jamie, I'm at my breaking point. The young man got to figure it out for himself at this point. I'm done talking. I'm not enabling him anymore. He's 26. It's time to grow up.
Again, once more, I didn't get the right clip, but this was a prelude to the actual conversation between Jamie and Irena, and then he goes into his little rant here. You hear this in the background.
All this over because I'm trying to talk to you about your attitude and how you treat your family. You could keep letting them do that to you. I'm not gonna keep letting it happen. And I'm there.
Do what to me?
How he ghosts his family when something don't go his way.
Well, I told him about that too.
I know, but that's what started all this.
Yeah. So when I went.
I don't want to say too much, Jay. I don't want to say too much. I want to let someone else talk, because I'll be talking too much sometimes. So, Jay, talk to me.
I tell you, we be having trouble with the accountability, man. Listen.
Yeah, shock. It's kind of shock.
It's a hard thing sometimes. It's an ego thing, and that's gonna be like the word of the night for right now. Yeah. It's a big ego.
Yeah,
it's a hard thing. It's a hard pill to swallow. Just to say, you know what, I might not be doing something right. And it's to be honest, it's really okay, because this human experience is a learning experience for us all. None of us got it right. None of us know how to do it perfectly and anything. We are experimenting with our lives and other people's lives all day, every day. So it's okay to sit there and say, I need help. I need suggestions. I need to hear somebody else. It's okay to sit there and ask your wife, hey, do you know what's going on? Do you know how to talk to him? Has he told you something? Do you know anything? But for whatever reason, our go-to is always the scapegoat. It's always to blame the other person. It's always to sit there and say, well, if you had did this, okay, if that person had did this and it still turned out the same, then what? Then what? But the real reality is when we look at ourselves first and figure out what we're doing, the answer is usually there. We usually already know the answer and the method to the problem when we first look at ourselves first instead of looking at the other person at what they're doing wrong, because it's easy to see what the other person's doing not wrong because we look outwards. But when we start to look inwards, we realize, you know what? You're right. If I come at this approach, better.
I think you're
Oh, damn,
yeah,
I'm
go for
losing
it.
a little bit.
That's right.
Okay. Then we start to learn ourselves better, and then we start to learn how to cope with other people and learn other people better. But it's hard to figure out ourselves and other people and how to live in harmony with other people when we keep blaming other people for everything that happens in our lives. So it's like you need to start, you got to start with yourself. Like I feel like Arena would sit and blame herself if something happens to little Jamie all day long. But would you? Would you sit there and blame her? Would you blame the person that did it to him? Would you blame him? Or you blame everybody else? But you won't take the time to sit there and say, hey, what did I do wrong? How did I fail as a parent? This is a learning experience for us. Sometimes we just, like I tell you guys all the time, I have to check in with my daughter to make sure I'm doing things right. I don't know. I just need to take account for myself because I got to make sure that I am okay. Because if something does happen to her, I will be the one to blame myself before anybody else. And I think this is just my opinion. He could take it or leave it. But if he starts taking account for his behavior towards his children, if all your children are saying, hey, dad, you act this certain way, it doesn't cost him anything to sit there and say, let me listen to what y'all saying and think about it. Now, if this, and I tell my friends this all the time, if there's a flaw about you that you don't feel that you need to change and you're very comfortable with it, no matter what nobody says, that's fine. Don't change it. But if it's making you feel some type of way that everybody keeps coming to you and saying this about you, this one particular thing about you, you have to look at yourself and sit there and say, okay, is it worth losing everybody in my life? Or is it actually worth fixing this one thing and seeing if I can last with this change? Some changes are not going to be overnight and some are not going to be long lasting. But if you give it a good go, you just never know what the response you might get out of it. So I feel like he just needs to sit down when they go to this therapy, actually hear the therapist out. Don't go back and forth with the therapist. Let them mediate the situation like they supposed to, like they're getting paid to do. And just take the notes and do the assignments. And he gonna find out, yes, it might be a lot of assignments geared towards him, but they will be helpful in the end. Just let the process do what it gotta do.
Absolutely. We saw a little bit of this last year though. He went to therapy with Arena, and he also did the exact same thing there. Deflected and put the blame on other people, mainly Arena. And so he struggles to self-reflect on how he contributes to all situations. Even the situation where he was shouting at her last year, when she turned up to the premiere, whatever, and he was shouting at her. Yeah, again, the blame seemed to be on her and her behavior, not his own. I think there's a struggle there for Jamie to actually realize just how much of his behavior impacts people. It's so him going to therapy this year round, I'm like, bro, unless you're going to be vulnerable, unless you're going to be self-aware, unless you're going to be appreciative of the help of this counselor, nothing's going to change, because we were here last year having therapy. And when you did it with Arena, we saw the same thing. We saw the fact that, you know what? You are playing as if you're invulnerable and you can't get things wrong. Now, what was interesting is that his the other daughter, I think Arena's daughter that, you know, he took on, she didn't like Jamie's way of doing things. She didn't like the way Jamie did her things. So she had the same complaint that little Jamie had, right? So there seems to, like you said, there seems to be a running theme, and so he needs to look into it. All right, but the way that he manages his household, at least manages his kids, Jamie is somebody who's not responding well to some of the ways that he's doing parenting, with that tough love aspect, because he is making his child feel like he's not loved and cared for. And the reality is, Jamie does care. The reality is, Jamie does care about his child, but the problem is he's not able to see his own shortcomings. And because he can't see his own shortcomings, he blames everybody else. And instead of actually making a change within himself to see a change outwardly, he just continues to say that it's not my fault. Outside world.
Exactamundo. You know, it's Michael Jackson said it best. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at the man in the mirror and I'm looking at him to make the change. And granted, he figured it out later in life too. But we can't control nothing but ourselves at the end of the day. We can't control how people respond to us. We can't control how people react to the things we do or we say, but we can control how we respond and act to what people do and say. So if he just takes those time, like you did it beautifully the other night on your men's paddle. You caught yourself and you even said it right then and there, like back in the day, I would have responded in a more like hostile, volatile manner. I'd have been up in arms and all this. And granted, you didn't use those terms exactly, but you said it like, you know, I'm learning how to control myself in certain situations. And yes, we love our children to death. And sometimes that love can bring out the worst in us. But it's that control you got to have. It's that control God put in you. It's that willpower to say, you know what, I can still be my best version of me despite what's going on around me. And like, we have to really fight sometimes those demons that are inside of us that just want to jump out and just say, you know, you could just slap this out of this kid right now. We got to fight it, you know, it's serious, like, because that's not the love we want to show them. We don't want to be the abusive parent. We don't want to be the repeating of history that it was done to us parent. We want to actually break those cycles and learn how to have actual conversations, understand our children, get to know our children, and show them that I love you despite all of this that you are doing, but I want and I need the best from you. So help me help you. That's the least I'm asking is just for you to help me help you, because you are a grown person now. And blaming the other parent for holding on the way they hold on is not going to work. That's the issue that Arena has to deal with on her own. You can highlight it to her, but actually blaming it on her, she's doing what she has to do as a mother to hold on to her son. Because if she leaves it up to you, she feels like you might end up pushing him completely away. She's not saying it, but that's what the deep root issue is. I don't want my son completely pushed away. So I'm going to do my fight tooth and nail the way I have to, which is hold on. And if it looks like coddling, it's going to be coddling. But I know how to relate to him in a more calmer manner. And he responds. Because that whole conversation she had with him, he responded to it. He opened up. He told her what his side of it was. I'm pushing away the whole world and this. And she explained Yes, but when you push away the whole world, I'm included in it. Your family's included in it. Don't push us away in that process. And I'm pretty sure there was a change in that moment for him. There was an awakening in that moment to say that, you know what, I'm hurting her. Let me stop. Our tough love doesn't have to be always so tough. Sometimes the words that we choose to use and we express how we actually feel, the hurt that we feel inside, the disappointment that we feel for our kids, that actually affects them more. Kids do not like to disappoint their parents. When you use that word, I am so disappointed with you, that hurts more than you ever put a hand across their backside ever will. Sometimes it's just sitting with God and saying, what words do I need to use with my child? And it'll come to you, and it'll change your whole life. Once I realized I ain't never had to put a hand on my child because I can just tell her how disappointed I was in her, and I see that in her face, she would do anything to try to fix why I'm disappointed in her. To the point I can just let her go and I know she's going to be okay. Every child learns differently. It's just you got to learn your individual child style, and that's all. But I can tell you, every child wants to please their parent. They want to be the joy. That you're the joy from the time you come out of that womb. You're the joy of their eye. They pick it up so quickly, and they want to continue that all through their life. So whether it's good or bad, they're going to do things to try to get your attention. So it's just like, if you want positivity out your son, just give him positivity back. He might not even know what that is at this point right now. He might need positive love. And it could still be stern. It could still be firm, but it doesn't have to be, get out my life. I don't want to talk to you. It's cool. We can go blow to blow. We can fight right now. It doesn't always have to be that. It could just be a respect thing. Okay, you want to do what you want to do? All right, well, respectfully, I can no longer take care of you like this. We got to change some things up. If this is what you want to do, I got to respectfully let you fall on your own sword. But I'll be there in the back when you actually ready to need me. When you want my help, I'll be there. But you're a man now, so go be a man.
Yeah, and I think my final thoughts on Jamie and Big Jamie and Little Jamie is the fact that I think Big Jamie sees part of himself that he does not like in Little Jamie. I think there's a reflection that he's seeing something in Little Jamie that he does not like, that I think he sees in himself. And I think the same way he's hard on his son is the same way he's hard on himself. But the reality is, you being that hard on yourself is you and you. Sorry, but you being hard on your son this way, it's causing destruction, and causing lasting damage. But the venom that he has for his son seems like he has something that is within himself, that he's looking at little Jamie and he's trying to eradicate what he feels maybe is a mistake in himself in his son, but doesn't realize that he's adding more fuel to the fire by the way he's dealing with the actual issue, coming at him sideways, coming at him with this heat. And it's because of the way that he was brought up, but it's also, if I remember correctly, it's also what he's experienced in terms of his parenting himself and what he got, and he's further transforming what he got onto his son. At this particular time and moment, that's not what your son needs. You want to encourage him to get a better job. You want to encourage him to take their life seriously. I get it. Tough love is a portion of love that we actually need, but it's within reason. But Jamie has these things every single time, every situation. We saw this last season where Arena was talking with the girls and they were having a conversation, about to go into a little bit of a chin wag that was going to be a little bit of gossip, and the way he controlled the situation of Arena, we don't do that thing here. Again, so there's an element of control for Jamie that he needs in order to feel to feel control, but in order to feel in control of his life. But I just feel like with little Jamie, it's the venom that he takes towards him that is destructive, rather than him talking to his son. I think if he can look at that, then there can be growth there as well. Sorry, Jay, you're going to say something.
Oh no, you just had made a good thing when you had said you can be hard with yourself all you want, but it's different when you're being hard with somebody else. I was just gonna have you repeat that because I was just like, oh, that right there. Like, it's easy for us to be one way with ourselves, and it's totally different when you're doing it to somebody else. It's almost the same thing as saying, and I think Haitian Pierce has said it the other day, is like, your hardships might not be hard to me. So you deal with certain things in life a different way than I might deal with it. Or what I feel is hard might be not so hard to you. And so Jamie probably does do what you said exactly. It's, oh, well, I was like this and I was brought up like that, and look how I turned out. But do you remember the days where you were going through it? Did you like it? Was it always a good time? How did you feel through it? Was most of it a great time? I know looking back, we always feel thankful and great about how our parents raised us and did for us. But in those moments, we feel differently. So how do you go ahead and respond to that? How do you deal with the changes? And one last thing too, so we can get off of this one, but learning styles for people change over time. So at one period, you might have needed the tough love. You might need that reinforcement, strong reinforcement to raise your child. But at some point, you need just communication. Some point it's just effective communication is just great. Sometimes it's just positive love is just great. Sometimes it's just sitting together in silence and existing. We all as humans want to be understood. So it's just a matter of, I can't keep doing the same thing I've been doing if it's no longer working. That's the definition of insanity. So if it's no longer working the way I used to do it, and it's not sinking in, let me change up my method. Because it might not be you. I might not evolve with you. And so that's all.
And just final thoughts on that part as well. I just think there's an extra question that Senior could be asking, and it's, what do you need from me now? What is it that you require from me now? Because I think Senior's unable to hear in a normal phase of conversation when it comes to his son, right? I think you said it earlier on when he was talking to Arena, you heard him express how he felt. And actually, we heard how he expressed himself on the balcony at the party last week when he was talking about you're getting on to me about the bad, but you know what? Basically what he really wanted was some encouragement. What he wanted was words to build him up, and also that's what I'm saying about taking accountability. What kind of building up have you done of little Jamie? Because he's right now in a space where he's requiring the building up. He's requesting almost, in a sense, build me up. Don't shake me down. Build me up. I lost a job, but I hear that, encourage me again, and of course someone might say, well, he got his son another job and he didn't like it, whatever. But that's not necessarily encouraging me, because actually, the whole point is that we want to be seen and we want to be heard. And we spoke about this yesterday, didn't we? We spoke about this yesterday with the guys, talking about how, when we're telling our feelings, we don't want people to be telling us, well, that's how we feel too. What we don't want, we want to be heard and we want to be seen. I think little Jamie just wants to be heard and seen. And sometimes Senior can absolutely make it as if he's not seen or heard, or his point is irrelevant to the conversation. And the reality is, of course, he's 26. We know that he's still he's getting on an age now, and you want him to do things, but now we're gonna have to look for positive regard, because that's what he's requiring. He's requiring some words of affirmation that are in a positive manner that will help him push. That will help him push and grow towards his next step. It's not for the want of trying. It's not for the want of trying. You can see and it. He wants to try and get this other job. He wants to be able to provide. He wants to be able to do these things. That's why he applied and did what he did. All he's looking for in that moment now is an encouragement. Hey, son, I saw the effort. Let's get back on. What's the next thing you want to do? I saw the effort. Because clearly, little Jamie was hurt by not being able to get a job. And if you heard Big Jamie, if you heard a senior, he even said, I think it was last week, he was talking about this, about, basically he used that moment as I told you so. Look, your past's going to catch up with you. Rather than, again, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't say this, but again, mixing it up with the whole, listen, but you know what? I know that your past is affecting you, and, we spoke about this, but don't worry about it. Listen, let's hop back on the horse again. Let's go again. But Jamie,
and that's that one thing that I think women do when we do get it, when we do see you and we do hear you, we do it in silence when we actually do it. And I know sometimes when you guys are saying, we don't want you to hug us, we don't want you to you don't want you to do anything, but that's like some of our natural responses is to do the hug or whatnot. But that's us saying we understand without having to say anything more. And I don't know, as a man, if you guys get that from other men, or not from other men, but from your fathers or not. Sometimes that, like you said, is just, I need you to hear me and understand me, but without a response. I don't need the extra feedback. And I know as a woman, and as a child, when I was used to get it and stuff, it's like, okay, you hear me and all this, but why do I have to have the but? Why do I have to get the answer? But okay, but I don't want none of that. I just want you to hear what I'm saying right now without any response. And I think that's what a lot of you guys' fight has been, is when you're saying that you want to be seen and you want to be heard. You don't want the response. And sometimes, and we'll just touch on Sunday a little bit, sometimes we're responding to understand you with a relatable thing that we transcribe it to relate it in our mind. And it's hard, like you guys are on the panel, so it's hard for us to sit there and just be like, okay, and make you know that we get it. So I guess some of us might have been translating it in our heads like, okay, as a woman, okay, I get you, and typing it down. But yes, I get what you guys are saying. Sometimes we just want that response without a response.
Yeah, and that's literally, that's it, and I think, again, and I guess I keep saying I'm going to leave this point, but I think Jamie is such an interesting character. But I think also as well with this situation, Jamie is working with his capacity. I honestly do think he's working with his capacity. Until he gets therapy and new input, he can't change his capacity. I think with Jamie, what he sees is, he sees his son as being lazy, but the way he's being so hard is because, for me, I see it again is, you never got no soft landing, so you're not providing your son any soft landing. And I always say this as well, that not everybody who goes through that replicates that behavior. Sometimes it's down to our genetics, but also down to, as well, our nurturing and our nature. What kind of person are you naturally built, how God made you? And you notice that some people will not take that same approach. They were like, do you know what? No, that hurt. When I saw my parents do that to me, that hurt. I'm going to change the way I deal with my children. But Jamie's like, no, do you know what? Frick it. I found a system that worked for me in amongst all of that madness, even though they might not have heard and seen me, but I found a system that works for me to thrive. Therefore, you too will also find a system that will also work for you and thrive. So don't worry about the pain you're feeling now. You'll find a system. But the reality is, yeah, you found a system, not necessarily because you're great or not because you're amazing, but simply because that's how your mind works. And your son may not think exactly the same way that you do. So you finding a system that works for you in order to adjust to what you were experiencing is great. but it doesn't mean your son's going to also have that same way of looking at things and looking at how he should move. Do you know what I mean? I just think with Jamie, he had a lot of tough love and a lot of no chance to be able to emote, share feelings properly, and I think that's coming through into how he deals also with Junior. He's like, well, if I couldn't do it, neither can you. So if I can emote, neither you gonna have time to emote. Get up and get out and go and get that job. You know. So yeah, but let's talk about another situation, because there was more than just Jamie, but that was also a big interesting one. We love talking about those things there, but let's talk a little bit more about the girls, because that was interesting. We had Sherelle, who joined us. Sherelle came to the party. That girl was looking at me. Okay, we had Sherelle and a few other ladies, and they were talking about gutter. The gutter, talking about gutter Barbie. Yes, that's no worries, Joe. No worries, Jay. We'll finish on this point anyway. So we'll do we can pick up another time. And I'll play a little clip so you guys can have a little look. Is it on the right one? Yeah, I am. Oh, I've gone off the screen there. Yes, please.
Pink, bitch. Sherella, this is Joy. I know y'all haven't formally met. Okay.
Sherelle, you think I'm not going to have hate in my heart for you because you're with my dream and not just mine, everyone else's?
Ooh, Chile, that was mad.
Okay. Let me go in real quick, because I know not everybody likes Joy, but I still have a soft spot for her. But however, I do not have to like and agree with everything that she does. Okay. All right. And this moment right here was something else, because unless you've been knowing Sherelle, and Sherelle has been around, and I don't even remember what her dude's name is at right now, but unless she was around at that time that you were working with him, I don't understand why you have this grudge towards her. You know, like you don't want to deal with anything that he's involved with or anybody that he's involved in. And I told you the other day when we were talking about this, that's like the craziest concept to me ever. So if you get a deal with Sony and he's involved with Sony, you're not going to work with Sony. If Warner Brothers want to pick you up, but he got a contract with Warner Brothers, you're not going to work with Warner Brothers. So you're going to miss more of your money because you're still holding on to a grudge with everybody this man is connected to because of this man. That is the craziest thing to me. That's the when we talked about that with Jeffrey and Correa tainting people and stuff like that, just because of one person, I don't get along with you. That is like the same thing on the opposite end. I just can't rock with you. If you're going to totally be mad, I can't hold you in my arms and say you are justified for being mad at the world because of this one person. That one person did something to you. Go address it with that one person. You're blocking your blessings because you're holding a grudge for one person with everybody else. That is the craziest thing to me. For me, I don't know what she's doing in this moment. Like, unless she comes later on and says Sherelle had something to do with her losing the money and she was there when all of this went down and all this, then I can stand by her in this moment. But just really, like, I don't want to deal with him because you're married with him. But he made me lose money way back in the day and all this. And I know y'all wasn't together then. That's crazy. That's beyond and above holding a grudge for something. And that to me is just like a negativity that is going to eat your life away for no reason. What's the saying that, I'm drinking the poison waiting for you to die? That's what you're literally doing in this moment by holding a grudge to everybody in his life. These people going on about their business, not even know what you mad about. He going on about his business, not even worried about you and what you mad about, but you got this grudge that you're carrying. Negative energy is like a current that is very, very transferable. And what it does is block all of your blessings and block people that should be in your life out of your life because they don't want to deal with that energy. People vibrating on higher currencies and trying to get to the bag and doing their thing and trying to be in happy spaces, they're not going to rock with you holding that type of energy. So I would advise letting all of that go, having the actual conversation and moving past that part of your history, because you will stay stuck there forever if you don't.
I hear you 100%. Joy's territorial behavior, where she was like, you know what, anybody is an extension of him. Basically, he's beef on sight for her, and it's like, wait, babe, unless that woman was there, like, why are we beefing the other lady? Like, this is you and him, and if he broke up the group, you should address your frustration with him. That's it, simple. You know, I think this side of Joy, we've seen a little bit of this side of Joy, that little spunk, a little bit of that spark, a little bit of that fire. We've seen it from Joy in Ready to Love. And so we see it again here. You know, it's similar to the bang bang situation. It's similar to the, you know what I mean? Like, almost feeling like a little bit of a mean girl in some sense. I don't think she is in this season as of yet, but I'm saying the way she is, the way that she's already coming at a few people, you're like, oh, Joy's gonna do what Joy's gonna do, move mad. You know what I'm saying? So I personally think that, you know, for Joy, you know, let that beef go, man. It's years ago. Let the beef go. Why are we still holding on to that beef that was time ago? Let's let it go. And I'm sure it might have been for production, they added it in, but yeah, I was like, let it go. It's not gonna do anything for you. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're coming to an hour. So Jay, give me your final thoughts. We'll continue this live another time. We'll do a bit more again. I don't want to go
Yeah.
too long.
Final thoughts. We definitely continue. It wasn't much in the episode more, but
Yeah, it wasn't.
yeah, just a little bit with winter and stuff. But we could come back to it possibly tomorrow. If you, oh no, you guys are doing another live tomorrow. But yeah, final thoughts. I think, as far as I see, I do see from Instagram, I know it's outside of what we transpired back then, but we're in the now, that they are moving forward with their relationship as far as Jamie and little Jamie and the Tyler family. And I'm very happy for them. I hope they are getting the counseling and mediation that they do need and deserve for their family to move forward. It's not a bad thing. We got to stop acting like it's taboo. He already knows it's not, because being in the police force in certain departments, you automatically get therapy. So he should be somewhat used to it already. So just getting the rest of your family accommodated in it and moving forward, I think that is a blessing, and I honor them if they are doing it. Open that door to communication with your son, and just let him and hear him. You don't always have to have a response. You don't always have to have some comeback or whatever and stuff. Just hear him. Nod your head and yes and whatever. Even if you don't agree, he has to be a man, and he has to make his own mistakes at this time. And I know you want to save him from any more mistakes that he's already made. He's made enough, you feel like, but that's his life now. That's his journey. And some of these mistakes might not be as hard as any of them in the past. His past has already kind of groomed him for life to come. So let him show you what he can do, what he's learned already thus far. Little Jamie, calm down your attitude when you're talking to your dad. He loves you. He wants to be there for you. Let him be. His ways is not going to always be right. And as a man, you can just stand up and say, hey, Dad, I got it. It's okay. I got it. I hear you. I love you. I know you love me, but I got it. And just let him respect that from you. Don't close your mama out. Don't close your sister out. Don't close your brother out because you're mad at the world, or you're mad at your dad, or whatever else is going on in life. That's not fair to them. They did nothing to you. They're always going to have your back. They want to have your back. Let them have your back. And that goes out for anybody else out there. There are certain people God has put into your life for a reason. Let those people work. Let them do what God has put them in your life to do. You can't burn every bridge you cross. Just because they're not agreeing with you right now and stuff doesn't mean that they don't love you. They're disagreeing with you for a reason. Sometimes just sit on that. Just sit on it for a second and try to figure out what is the reason. It might save your life. And that's all.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that, honestly. yeah, it was insightful. I like to say, like I said, I love the way we break down Jamie, honestly, because I think it does help a lot of people. Yeah, I wanna definitely come back and visit this. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow we can do it before we do the Sisters Live. So, I don't know actually. I think I'm meant to be doing something. I'll message you, Jay, and see. Because I'm meant to be doing something on Thursday, so I might not be able to even do the Married at First Sight live. But yeah, we'll be back, guys. Don't worry, and we'll finish off the rest of it because there was a few interesting pieces. Winter, the girls, got a Barbie. There wasn't much in it, but we'll break it down for you guys as well. So listen, like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate it, guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again tomorrow night for Sisters and Married at First Sight. Much appreciation. We'll see you again very, very soon.